Question Time is here on BBC One Northern Ireland at 10:55, following an extended BBC News at 10 with Huw Edwards and Joe Scott.
Tonight at 10, Boris Johnson is no longer Conservative leader, but he wants to stay on as Prime Minister until a successor is chosen. In a statement that made no mention of his recent difficulties, Mr Johnson seemed to blame his colleagues for withdrawing their support.
As we've seen at Westminster, the herd instinct is powerful. When the herd moves, it moves. And my friends, in politics, no one is remotely indispensable.
Watched by his family and his most loyal supporters, Mr Johnson expressed regret that his premiership will be ending much earlier than he'd hoped.
I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks.
In recent days, no fewer than 58 Conservative MPs had left the government from senior to junior levels, raising doubts about the government's ability to function. Now, live at Westminster tonight, they were taking in the news. Labour said Mr Johnson's intention to stay on as Prime Minister over the summer was not acceptable.
It's obvious he's unfit to be Prime Minister. That's been blindingly obvious for a very, very long time. And if they don't get rid of him, then Labour will step up in the national interest and bring a vote of no confidence.
An argument has raged all day about just how long Boris Johnson can stay here in Downing Street. Tonight he is promising that any big decisions will be left to the next Prime Minister.
Yes, more from Chris in just a moment, and we will indeed be asking if Mr Johnson is now going to come under increasing pressure to move out of number 10 as soon as possible. Also on the programme. In relation to the war in Ukraine, President Putin dares the West to have a go at defeating Russia on the battlefield. And an injured Rafael Nadal withdraws from Wimbledon, missing an opportunity to achieve a new Grand Slam record.
And coming up on BBC Newsline, political reaction here to the resignation of Boris Johnson and allegations that PSNI officers took and shared pictures of a man who took his own life.
Welcome to BBC News at 10. Boris Johnson is no longer leader of the Conservative Party, but he's still Prime Minister and he intends to stay in charge until a successor is chosen. Now, Mr Johnson delivered a statement outside number 10 Downing Street at lunchtime today in which he appeared to blame what he called the herd instinct of Conservative MPs for forcing him out. Many of his colleagues, along with opposition parties, are deeply unhappy with his plans to stay on as Prime Minister over the summer, and they've called on him to go immediately. But Mr Johnson has now gone ahead and he has filled vacant posts in his cabinet, appointing 6 new members. And there they are, from left to right. We start with Greg Clark, who's come back into the cabinet. He's now the Levelling Up Secretary, and then a big pal of Boris Johnson's, James Cleverly, going to education. Robert Buckland has become the new Welsh Secretary. Shailesh Vara there is going to the Northern Ireland office. Another Boris Johnson loyal fan is Kit Malthouse, who's been appointed to the Cabinet Office. And then we have on the right there Andrew Stevenson, an additional minister who's attending the Cabinet. He's called a minister without portfolio. Now, the final unravelling of Mr Johnson's leadership happened in the past few days with the resignations of Sajid Javid and Rishi Sunak, and then followed by an additional 56 departures from different levels of government. And tonight we'll be asking, how realistic is it for the Prime Minister to stay on for another 3 months or so? And we'll be looking at the likely candidates to succeed him. So first tonight, let's join our political editor, Chris Mason, in Downing Street.
Huw, this time last night you and I were in conversation here in Downing Street, reflecting, weren't we, on the brutal exercise of prime ministerial power from Boris Johnson with the sacking of a senior cabinet minister. There was a swagger from Downing Street and a determination and a defiance to carry on. How things